And it is the Real Estate Show featuring Chris Lofthus of the Chris Lofthus Group at Keller Williams Realty Boise. Chris, I guess in terms of the week, I want to share with you kind of roller coaster I've been on. I got to spend some time with Mayor Giuliani and Sarah Palin. I was all fired up, and then middle of the week, you and I went to a banking event.
Yeah.
I've been all over the place, but I think at the end of the day, it sounds like that's where a lot of buyers and sellers are right now. We're not really sure what to do, but your advice is, if you're going to do it, now's the time.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of that. And the event you were talking about is that we went to the Mountain West Economic Symposium. It was pretty interesting to just hear, different point of view from different people and what's going to happen in 2013. But what we're seeing around here, and this is kind of what I always talk about regarding the AP articles that I always complain about that are always in the newspaper. But, this national news, you just got to wash it off, because the fact of the matter is Boise's, as of last week, Boise's number one. So CoreLogic ranked Boise as the most improved year after year real estate market in the country. So, it's really, really good news. There's all sorts of other rankings. Like we keep talking about how, we were in Forbes as the second best place to live. Outside Magazine ranked us best place to play and live. So there's a lot of good news going on out there. And there are some markets that are doing horrible and still and struggling. But I feel for the most part, we're going to keep heading on up.
All right, give folks a snapshot of what our show is going to look like. Obviously, you're going to touch on a few things going on in the housing market, and then Van Carlson's going to come and visit with us as well today.
Yeah, we got Van in here again from Concierge Legacy, and I just wanted to have Van on again because I think it's nice to get his point of view. Typically we have him and Aaron come on and chat about the financial world, what they're feeling coming. We always keep hearing the fiscal cliff and what's going on with that and where we're heading. And I just want to talk to Van because I think it gives us some more round, like when we were at the Mountain West Bank deal, we talk about, what's going on in the banking industry.
Right.
We have all these different things that are going on. I think Van, when he'll get a touch base and give people a view on what he believes is going to happen here in 2013.
Well, very good. It is the Chris Lofthus Show and the Chris Lofthus Group at Keller Williams Realty of Boise. As we remind you, you can go to his website. It's Chris Lofthus, and that's ChrisLofthus.com. Chris, it was fun at that event we were at the middle of the week with Mountain West Bank to hear the number of folks. Hey, I listened to that show coming up to you, and I think they're getting a lot of good information. And I get to spend a lot of time with you, but I like to see when your peers are out there saying, well, Chris, what do you think? What does this mean to you, and what's going on in your real estate business?
Well, I do. We're doing fantastic. And as a matter of fact, just this last week, we saw another big, June and July are typically pretty slow for us, just people on vacation doing their thing. Fourth quarter is always the biggest, and we just keep pressing on. And we have people listing their houses now, which I like to see, We're still at that 2,300 range for inventory in Ada County, but now we're starting to see a lot more movement. I think what's happening now, I think a lot of, the first part of the year, talking January through June, I think we had a lot of buyers that were looking at it going, okay, hey, we still want a deal. And I think the sellers kind of stuck put, so we kind of had kind of a rough first and second quarter, but then I think that the buyers are coming around now going, you know what, prices are going up. You look right here, the median sales price in Ada County was $140,000 last year. We're at $162 year to date, and a lot of that has to do with some new construction, but a lot of it's got to do with resale people holding steady to their number because they're seeing the recovery happening.
Yeah. Well, we looked at some numbers that we saw, and I think in the peak it was 2.5 million, and that was around 06, 07. And then as we went down into that drop, and now all of a sudden you see, at least in August going to September, 800,000, nearing 1 million.
Sure.
So if you're looking for any sort of sign, I think we did learn that interest rates probably aren't getting any lower. I guess in essence they can't, right?
Yeah, well, and I don't recall the guy's name who talked, and Van and I can discuss this a little bit too.
Yeah,
but
Ben Bernanke was his name. No, just kidding.
No. But we talk about, and everyone's got a different opinion of it, but they're talking 5 years. 5 years down the road, that's a long time, and you're getting into 2018 where we're talking about still low interest rates, and that's just going to lead in my world, that's going to lead to just a really, really, crazy bull market for the real estate portion of it, just because there's, people are going to start seeing the advantages of it. And Van can talk too, because Van's taking advantage of it. Him and Aaron are putting their new place downtown, which they're going to be hopefully in here in December, January, or something like that. But the movement is great. I love watching it. We talk about how I just kind of promote Boise, but again, I look at local numbers, and that's kind of where my point of view I take is look at local numbers, look what's going on here with new construction, even commercial.
Chris was kind enough to invite me to his table, and I visited with Annette, who puts our show on each and every week, and also Jerry Kelly, and she had told me how successful, and I thought this was a good sign, the parade of homes, and especially your particular home that you guys, but in general, she said, man, there is so much traffic with the parade of homes. I thought that was great news.
Yeah, it's crazy. We've had it for 2 weeks. We're open again today from 11, I believe it's 11 to 5 o'clock, right? Mm-hmm. So 11 to 5 o'clock today. And yeah, I think we've had over 400 people through in the last 2 weekends, which is just an insane amount of activity on that Flaherty homes that we have in the parade. And I've heard the same thing from everybody else. So from the price range we're at, 700 all the way down to the stuff in 200, I heard there's just tons and tons of traffic out there.
So, Chris, what are questions you're hearing from potential buyers or potential sellers? What are people that kind of like our listener today? Mm-hmm. What do they say to the real estate guru? What do they ask him?
Probably one of the biggest things we talked about is lending. Everyone still has that perception that there's no lending, and like last weekend when we had Kurt Moody on the show from Academy Mortgage, and Kurt and I were discussing rates, and he says, at least reach out to a lender. We talk about, reach out to Kurt, Academy Mortgage, and see what's out there, because you'd be surprised, or he can give you advice on what to correct on your credit or what you need to clean up. But there are definitely loans, and that's probably the biggest concern out there or questions that we get. Yeah,
and we heard that from Mountain West. I mean, the CEO of the bank said, we got lots of money and we want to lend it. And I think everybody, of course, there were a lot of it was kind of the preacher talking to the choir, but I don't know where that misnomers come from. I guess, as you say, the AP or the Associated Press, those newspapers and other reports of the media that I guess they want us to believe that.
Right. Well, they do. And, something else I'm going to touch base on real quick, Dave, when we discuss this and talk about rates staying low, and, talking about 5 years now. And so there's no, one of my concerns is there's no urgency. But when you start seeing, us going from 140 to 162,000 for a median sales price in Ada County, yesterday morning I got off the phone with one of my ex-realtor friends down in San Diego, and we're talking, we have 2,200 houses on the market in Ada County, okay? And you look at that, and we have roughly 400,000 people. In North San Diego, they have 2,800 houses on the market right now, and they have almost 900,000 people. She said the market's going crazy down there. She says every time something good comes on, Orange County's doing the same thing, San Francisco. Anytime something good comes on, she says there's sometimes 15, 16 offers on the property. And so that's going to put a lot of pressure on what's going on around here. And we talk about inventory levels, and that's why I encourage people to reach out to us. And, if you're talking about listing your house, now's the time. People always want to wait until the spring, but now is the time because we don't have much inventory.
So, Chris, you've got a couple of options. They can obviously reach out to you at the office at 350-6228, 350-6228, and they can also go to your secret list. And Chris put this together, I think it was last spring, and it's been a great success. Explain to our listener how that works.
Yeah, basically what it is, we talk about it all the time. I promote it. I love it. It's just listings that we have, people that, it's and some of them are actually listings that were listed before. People pull them off the market. We still keep them because we know they want to sell them. So you look at it in general, in general, what we're looking for is we're just trying to find people who don't have their houses on the market due to the fact that they don't want to show it, or the children, or they don't want family to know they're moving, or whatever it is. And we just have, a pool of buyers that come in and give us their parameters of what they want to buy, and we try to marry the two up.
And that is called the secret list. So if you reach out to the Lofthus Group and you get a hold of Annette, one of the team members, at 350-6228, 350-6228, just say, hey, I can't remember the name of the list. I know it's a secret, but Annette will know exactly what you're talking about, what you heard on the radio. So we'll take a time out. When we come back, our guest today, Van Carlson, who's the principal at Concierge Legacy. I want to ask him a little bit about the economy. Obviously, the big talk is the second debate. How does that affect stuff? stuff is the Senate as we get ready for, in essence, a lame duck Senate coming up. How's that going to affect things? Some of the changes in taxes out there. And the big one, the fiscal cliff. What is that fiscal cliff, and do we jump? Do we get a parachute? What do we do? Van Carlson, the principal at Concierge Legacy, to help us out today on the Real Estate Show featuring Chris Lofthus of the Chris Lofthus Group at Keller Williams Realty, Boise. Back with more right after this.